Welcome to the Encore, our first Encore of 2020.
Yeah, first Encore of the decade.
Of the decade, pretty cool. Barbara Walters, Hugh Downs here. This is 2020, right?
2020.
2020. Dude, I looked it up. I had to look it up.
She 100?
No. Do you know how old she is?
Give me a minute.
Yeah.
82.
95.
95?
Closer to 100.
95.
Yeah.
Is she live on the air?
I don't think so. Is she? I don't know.
95.
Did you watch that show as a kid?
Oh,
Or
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. What?
Yeah, Parker, if you want to double check that.
You just blew my mind.
I looked it up the other day because of the whole 2020 thing, and people are, doing
She's been on the air in her 90s then, because I've seen her, I feel like, in the last 5 years on something. Maybe not. Maybe in your mind you think
I don't know.
95. Yeah. I can't recover.
Crazy. Is Hugh Downs still kicking? Huh?
Barbara Walters. What's her name, he said. Oh, okay.
Hugh Downs, is he still?
I don't know. He's not at the level of Walters.
No, but it was still 2020
Hugh
for a
Downs.
long
I mean, is
time.
Sam Donaldson? Like, what difference does it make? I don't
Sam
know.
Donaldson was
He
a big
was
deal.
with 2020 with her? I only see her in my mind.
I'm Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. Yeah.
This is 2020.
Maybe they
and
had
now we
100
don't see
different
Hugh
hosts.
Downs anymore. Like, I swear within the last 5 years, she's done, like, the year's most fascinating people or something. She does that at the end of every year. Has she done that
Sounds
at 90 years
vaguely
old?
familiar.
How about she's the most fascinating person on the air?
The
at
fact
95?
that she's doing that at 95. Betty White style. Isn't Betty White like late 90s?
Oh, man, you're pulling some names right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got to be in her 90s,
Yeah.
hundreds.
Her hundreds. Wait,
Who's 97? Betty White is 97.
What about Barbara Walters? Was it 95?
Yeah, but is she on the air?
What about Walters? Oh, 90.
90.
Oh,
Young.
man.
Oh, she's.
I was off. Still.
Why'd you say 95? You said
I
I
don't
looked it
know.
up.
I
She's
thought-
95.
I said I needed to check it because I could have been wrong. I felt like it was 95. Man, I was way off.
Who else are we off on? Who did we look up the other day? We looked up somebody there in their 60s.
Yeah,
It was
old
me and you,
people?
I think. Is it me and you, or was it?
I do this a lot. I look at people's ages a lot.
I think me and you just did this, and we were like, "What?" And someone was like in their 70s.
It's probably somebody in the church.
It was Martha Stewart. It was
Oh,
Martha
Martha
Stewart.
Stewart.
It was Martha Stewart. What was she? She was 80 years old, I think. 78.
I'm not
78.
remembering anymore.
She was
but
late
she's older.
70s. Blew my mind. In my mind, she's 58.
Wow. If you had to predict your age when you die, how old do you think you're going to be?
Oh man, this
How-
is
how-
crazy. What if I'm right?
Oh,
I gotta predict
man.
late because
Yeah.
I
How
only
long
wanna-
do you feel like? Like, do you feel like you got 100 years in you? Not 100 more years. I mean 100.
Well, I mean today. I mean it's hard to. I don't think so, man. I only want it if I'm still able to do things. Like if I'm still able to preach and serve and walk and move. Like, dude,
Yeah.
this could get to be a heavy conversation. But like I've seen people. We all have later on.
Give it up.
Whatever age, and I think they can't do it. Like I'd rather be dead. Like I'm okay with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Prefer it. I'm not afraid of it.
I get it.
I'm not afraid of it. I let's move on.
All right, let's move on. All right, John chapter 3. We're going to be in John for 2020, continuing. This was called I Am Not the Christ.
That's right.
I call it like you're overrated. Right?
You're overrated.
You're overrated.
We're all
So
overrated.
who gets the glory
You're not
here?
a thing. Nobody cares.
All right. If you did not watch the sermon, listen to the sermon, you can get all of that on our app, on YouTube, a bunch of different places I probably don't know, including the rest of the John series. We started in John 1:1, which any series normally would, right?
It would
So,
start in chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
That's correct.
And we're continuing. All right. In Isaiah 42, you reference this.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about getting the glory, and this is man getting glory, fighting for glory, and who deserves the glory. God says, I am the Lord. I will not yield my glory to another.
Right.
When you read that, when you hear that, people would think it sounds arrogant. Like that's a weird thing to say. If you say any of those
It's all
types
mine.
of
I'm not giving
words,
it away yet.
yeah, like why is that okay for God to say?
Well, because he has breathed into us the breath of life. He has shown us his incredible grace and mercy. He is the creator of all things, the king. He's the only real king. But if you want to more, I mean, we can say all those are all the right things to say. But while the question still stands, I thought about this myself before you had brought this up.
Yeah.
I think about it like from my own perspective as a father. Okay, like all authority in that house, as a father, my wife is my helper and things like that, but all authority in the house is mine. I'm not saying that arrogantly. This is how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
To have peace, to instill character and discipline and wisdom and compassion and these kind of things. Like so I don't give that to my kid. I don't share that with my kids at all. I'm not wrong in that. I'd be wrong to do it. I'd be wrong because they are ill-fitted for that authority. They are if I say, "Hey, you have the next hour. You have the authority in the house." They're going to misuse it. They are ill-equipped. They don't understand it, and it would intoxicate their heart and soul and mind. And God is saying it, I think, more for our benefit than his own. He doesn't need to declare that for his own ego.
That's good to say, yeah.
I think he is saying, look, I'm not giving it to anyone, so don't have hopes that I am. And I think the point is, and the Bible proves it, Genesis to Revelation, and even in all of us, we can't handle it because we try to steal it and we get an artificial piece of glory. And the minute we think we got any of it, it blackens our heart and we turn into a monster.
Yeah.
So I would say the same thing. I'm not an egomaniac to say, look,
right,
I'm the king of this house, and you're not.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to puff myself. I'm saying the expectation is built in you appropriately, so you can walk in humility and
you
be
understand,
at peace. Because if you think you're going to get it, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. And in God's case, it's certainly true, and he's certainly worthy of it too, which is a difference.
All of the things we can say about God's worthiness they stand, but I can see the mind of man, including my own, going, but still, isn't that kind of a weird thing to say?
Yeah, that's
only
good.
for us. It's weird for us.
Right. Very good. You used examples of King Herod and King Nebuchadnezzar, both humbled in
very similar ways.
Similar ways, yeah, not exactly, but very, very similar in the sense where they were without question asking for glory for themselves. I mean,
straight up,
pretty blatant,
straight
right?
up.
And some crazy things happened to them. Nebuchadnezzar turned into, I guess, basically a beast,
at least
an ox.
At least the behavior. He's a whack job. He's the first Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes, yeah. And then Herod was eaten by worms, right?
Yeah.
So does this happen in any way today?
Yeah.
What would that look like?
Howard Hughes.
Honestly,
I don't know. I'm not standing in judgment of Hughes, but I think a lot of this could get crazy what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I believe anything you see there from the judgment of God. Worms. I feel like I need to preface this. This isn't to cast judgment on anyone who has these things as though it's because you were a glory robber.
Right.
But if you are, it might be.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer, sanity. I think people they've lost their sanity. They've lost their peace. They've lost their health. They've lost their family. They've lost their job. They have inexplicable reasons. They can't walk and talk. They can't. I think glory robbers, all of those things can happen. People can flat be cut down to the stump that Nebuchadnezzar was because they're encroaching on God's glory and trying to take it. Right? Do you think? What do you think?
I do. I'm trying to be careful to not name names because I see some things. But I think
we could talk about pro athletes. We could talk about powerful people. Maybe, right? You say, I don't want to name names. That puts me in a weird spot.
Yeah. And am I the discerner of that? I don't know, because there's people that doesn't happen to that are looking for glory for themselves. So I don't know. But can God take those, and has He taken those gifts, those abilities away that maybe propel those people to that glory? Yeah, I think so.
Sure He has.
I think
and
so.
Sure He will. Right. Sure He will. People should tremble, and they should be shaking right now listening if they're trying to steal glory from God in even subtle ways. He sees it, and He doesn't like it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be like the church in Revelation where the lampstand is like
put out?
Yeah, I'll put it out. Right? Yeah, so I guess that makes sense. All right, we're going to talk about glory thieves, kind of drop it a little practical here in different aspects. You'd given a lot of words about being the pastor and people in our positions that have and the temptation to grab glory, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about both sides of that, how a pastor looks for that. Mm-hmm. Let's just start with that. A guy that's called to full-time ministry, he surrenders his life. Let's assume all things right at the beginning.
Yeah.
It has happened where somebody has gone down that path and seemed to be in it for themselves long term.
100%.
How does that happen to a guy like you or I?
A pastor, a preacher, or whatever relates to those watching and listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Success in your life, success at your business, whatever, athletics, with like calling and blessing comes influence.
Mm-hmm.
And influence is a dangerous drink. Like a crowd is a toxic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fallen nature of the human heart can in 1 second, and you not even notice it happen, think that the people are here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll tell you that.
Yeah.
We're here, man, we can't wait to listen to you today,
Absolutely.
Pastor. And I'm not mad at anybody, saying that.
Right.
But
right.
your heart can drink it in, from the wrong cup. Like
Mm-hmm.
where you're like, man, we can't wait. And you see them, and they're you put anybody in any circumstance where a decent amount of people, whatever, numbers don't matter. People, if it's 10 people, are looking to you, or you, at least you think that. If you, the minute you think that, the minute you see them, and the minute you believe that they are here because of and for me,
Mm-hmm.
you're lucky you're not dead.
Yeah.
You have become Herod, and you better pray to the Lord that you don't have worms in the next 5 minutes when you repent.
Right. I want to talk a little bit more about this in a minute, about more practical things and encompassing all different types of people, occupations, and things like that. But within the church, just speaking as in our world too, like in the country, there's a lot of celebrity pastors.
Oh.
You and I follow some or whatever, and so that becomes a celebrity type thing. How can you warn our people listening to be reminded of that as them as humans? What's an encouragement or a reminder for them?
So the first thing I want to say is I think people think, man, I even hate the word, but it is the correct word, celebrity. I think people think this is new and modern, that this is because of social media. Certainly there are dry logs that you can throw on the fire and stoke those flames nowadays, like social media, selfies, and all these things. Yeah. Television. I think people think this is a new thing. It's not. They had to hide the body of Moses so they didn't worship his grave.
Yeah, that's
Paul. I was reading it. If people were paying attention, this has been in the Corinthian church. Well, I'm of Apollos and I'm of Paul. Mm-hmm. When God uses anybody, when God does work and calls a man, calls a woman forward, and he literally says, "I'm choosing you to do this job," and someone faithfully does that job. The fallen heart of man, the idol worshiping heart of man, instantly makes that person a celebrity. This has been going on since Moses and before.
Yeah.
So it's not new. So there's no way. People are like, well, this is in our culture and we got to stop it. You're not stopping it. It just happened for a long time. What was your question, though? So I wanted to lay that out. And I'm not saying that to make it okay.
You're right.
I'm just saying this didn't just begin yesterday and we're not stopping it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Yeah, what's the advice you would give to people to look out for that?
Okay, that what John the Baptist said, me and you were talking about earlier, a man can receive nothing unless it has been given him from heaven. Moses is not Moses because he's a genius or a good leader, a good speaker. He's a bad speaker, he's a cowardly leader, and he's a rageaholic that murdered a man. Yeah. And God said, I'm asking you to go do this. And he said, okay. Everything that happens next is from the Lord. Every miracle, any preacher you listen to, any Bible teacher you read, where your mind is opened and you're like, whoa, that power, that understanding, that if your soul was moved, that came from the Holy Spirit through that vessel.
Yeah.
Moses stood there, raised his hands, and the Red Sea parted. People looked at like, he's a god. No. But that's what preaching is. That's what giftings are. Singing, anything you want. Yeah. We raise our hands because the Lord said so. And sometimes the power of God comes and parts the sea, and we're standing there, the first one to see it. And people go, wow, you just did that. That's not true.
Right.
And so people need to realize that. Like, follow who you follow. Listen to who you listen to.
Yeah.
Whatever power is happening, that comes from God, and give God the credit.
Yeah.
And be thankful for him sending the servant.
And when we're created to worship, it's like Chris Tomlin song, made to worship or whatever, right?
Yep.
So there is something in us, in every person, and this is you and I talking too, that none of us are above this by any means. And so there's something in all of us that are looking for worship. Like we want to worship something. So I think the physical presence of people is very tempting because they're there, right? You're sitting there preaching or teaching, or I'm listening to you. We do this with everybody, athletes, movie stars, whatever.
Oh yeah, our generation, Michael Jordan,
right?
LeBron James,
100%.
Yeah, totally.
But even in a pastoral setting, it's a physical presence of like you said. My life was changed through these dudes' words. Billy Graham, whoever. People have been saved through his testimony, through his preaching. And so then they kind of see that, I think, just because of the physical presence that he's there. But you're right. This is the reminder of where does that come from? Who's doing the actual saving?
And the thing with like Christian ministry, the people, you and I or whoever is sitting there, have encountered the actual power of the actual God working through. Paul said, "Are we not servants through whom you believe?" So the power of the actual God spoke to somebody's heart, and then there is a man standing there. And what happens is people give that, and like they want to give back worship because of what happened in their life, as they should, but they end up giving it to that servant. They give it to the guy because he's the one or she's the one standing there. Yeah. Now, I will say this too. So the reaction is to denigrate the servant. And I'm not saying this so people like, don't talk bad about me. Dude, I'll talk bad about myself. Got no problems. But people are like, I think people find it to be their mission to tear down the servant. That's not the move either.
Right.
The problem wasn't in the servant if they weren't seeking it and you gave it to them.
Yeah.
The problem is in you. You need to tear down the reason why you made an idol out of somebody. You don't have to beat Paul up. You don't have to beat Moses up. You're insulting the grace of God. You're attacking a servant of Christ. That's not necessary. If they need to be attacked, God will attack. If I need to be humbled, God is happy to do it and has.
Yeah.
You need to look at yourself if you've worshipped somebody, as I have. I've looked at people and gone, wow, I've put this person a little too high. And that's not their fault. That's my fault.
Absolutely. And it is a guarantee, if you follow long enough or get close enough, there will be something that disappoints, right? That hurts that person. If that relationship is unhealthy view of them, it is a guarantee that person's going to let you down.
Pastor Wes, you really disappointed me. I bet I did.
I'm sure
I bet I did. But then they say it like that should not have happened.
Right.
You should have never disappointed me. Like, I think you're talking about the wrong person.
Okay, you mentioned a lot of this in your sermon, but I did want to talk about it. I have so many things here I'm not going to get to. How do you deal personally? You could throw this back on me. I don't care. With the balance of encouragement and glory. You just talked about a little bit
in my own heart.
In your own heart. Hey, that was best sermon, man. That changed my life. Week after week after week. Those types of things.
So first of all, that there is a such thing. Aaron says, I say there is a such thing, and that's not a thing. She said it's supposed to be there is such a thing. Man, I can't break my mind out of it. There is such a thing.
For sure. I've heard you say that. I didn't think about it until now. But.
Well, it'll happen again, and it's going to drive me crazy.
All right.
There is such a thing as encouragement. Barnabas' name means son of encouragement. That is necessary. That is a function in the body. The Bible even says the gift of encouragement. It's a thing from God through people to people. That's necessary. And I am so thankful for that. So thank you for those that have ever done that. If I drift from the Lord, I'll take his glory. Like there's no like, well, I should only allow myself to be encouraged 5 times and not 10 times inside of a week. That's not it's not about that. It's about my heart. Like when I am close to God and his word, I know that he sent this person, he sent these words to say not them, but to say through them, I've got my eye on you, I'm with you, keep going. Good job. Keep going. Stay faithful. And in my heart, if I make that about him, I'm encouraged. I'm not convicted about sin or being a glory robber. I'm at peace. And in my heart, I just sometimes silently, I'm like, thank you. I needed that so much. Thank you, Lord, for just saying that you're there watching. If I drift from the Lord and his word and I'm just doing work, calling it ministry, calling it preaching, and people offer encouragement, I'll start taking it into my heart. I'll start drinking it. And because I've forgotten who God is. You get away from the Word of God for very long at all, you forget who He is and what He deserves, and you start to take His place.
Right. Yeah, very much so.
I mean, what's your answer to that question?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's I'm just going to speak specifically to the preaching side of it. I guess there's other ways you could go at to the amount of prayer and preparation and just the nerves of going like I want to give everything I have to understanding the Scripture to proclaim that. I think is what helps keep me humble to go, dude. Like I barely even was able to get through this week. Like it's such a taxing mentally, emotional, spiritual thing. So, but then you're right. There is the encouragement side. So there's always the part of me that says, well, I want this to be effective. Like if I'm up here just saying gibberish and stupid words, I want to know that. Like I want to get me out of here.
See
right?
fruit.
Yeah,
I want that.
Yeah, and so Jessica and I talk about this. I'm like, and I've asked her that. I'm like, I do want to know that was an effective thing.
Of course.
And so, yeah, people will come and say kind words, and some people are just always kind, and some people, I don't mean that in a mean way. I appreciate encouragement. I appreciate
I know
those people. But then there's times where they just say, man, the Lord really spoke through that, and yeah. But for me, it's a lot of it's in the preparation of it. It just constantly reminding me to stay humble. And that's not to say that I've ever been like, oh, cool, that felt good, right? I'd be lying.
Of course. I've touched the glory, and I'm glad I'm not dead.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah,
like you said, I mean, you kind of alluded to it too, though. Like, I know what an imbecile I am in my every single day, and I just can't believe God would use me at all sometimes.
Totally.
And so I know, like, whatever encouragement comes, that's coming from the Lord. It's not because I'm great at all. And that's not false humility. I'm in touch with reality today. Tomorrow I might lose it and try to touch the glory because I am an imbecile. And I just think, like, man, if that's true, whatever this encouraging person is saying, praise the Lord, because I can't believe God would even be so kind to use me, And but it is a challenge, but that's a challenge that if we're close to the Lord, you're not gonna want to touch it.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just an example. Sometimes that I think, oh, that sounds like a victory to me. Is somebody will say, I can't remember if you said this or Wes said this, but there was a verse in this that stuck out to me, and I'm like, okay, something's getting through.
Something's
like
working.
You remember
from
verse,
the Lord.
Yeah, from the Lord. This verse stuck out to you. It wasn't a story from me or from you or whatever. That's those things are cool. I'm like, all right, you see some things happening here.
I would also add too, like you ask, what stops you from being a glory robber? I mean, it could happen tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm scared of God. People don't like hearing that sometimes, so they're making a mistake. Like if you're not afraid of God in some way, I don't know if you've taken a good look at who God is.
Totally.
And I don't know everything about Him, and I don't walk with Him as closely as I should a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I've seen enough of Him, and I've read enough and seen. I am scared to mess with that because I've been humbled before, and I don't want to deal with that again.
Yeah, and then to add one more thing on this too is accountability. So even with our elder team, like we're talking about these types of things, and we would say, "Man, this really seemed arrogant of you," or "Looks like this is all about you." We have, and we definitely talk about those things.
Sure.
So having godly men in your life that will help or women would keep you accountable is extremely huge. So, all right, I'm running out of time, and I got nowhere. I want to read verse. Oh, I just lost the page. Verse 30. Would you read it? I just dropped.
He must increase, but I must decrease.
Yeah. So I kind of want to end with this with some practical questions with this. First and foremost, anybody, whatever, pastor, influence of any type, what are some practical ways that we can be reminded, or what are some things that are saying like this is the way that we are looking for glory? What are ways that you see anybody looking for glory today?
Social media, the way they dress, stories they tell, questions they ask. Hey, did you think I did a good job? Listen, if the Lord needs to tell you did a good job, He'll come tell you.
Yeah.
Stop fishing.
Yeah.
People are they got fishing rods out everywhere looking for praise, the praise of man to their flesh, and it's so dangerous. Like, you can use social media for good or evil, like anything since the beginning of time. People, putting what God has done in their life and claiming it as their own, and looking for, fake pictures and fake, reality that, people are, you're so beautiful, you're so awesome, your family's so great, you're an inspiration. People are like, oh, thank you. That's a lie. Stop. You are drunk out of your mind on pride. And I only know that because I can be tempted by it too. So you're not fooling me, because I know the temptation. Dude, I've deleted so many tweets. This isn't even not enough.
Yeah.
But like I've learned to and it's still a discipline and exercise. Check with the Lord. Like, what are you really doing here? What are you really saying? I know what you're doing. I mean, people wear clothes, searching for compliments on their body, on their image. They slip in little things in conversation about their accomplishments at work, how much money they have, how great their family is. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways, we don't have to accuse or be the judge of that, but one of the ways to check is, if any of those types of things are going on, ask the question, what's my reason for posting this? What's my reason for saying this? What's my reason for dressing like this? Am I fishing for compliments? Am I hoping somebody notices me and says something? Or, And
yes.
Yeah, dude, that can certainly be a battle for a lot of people, and is.
And stop lying to yourself. I mean, people, that's a hard thing to answer, to say out loud to yourself. The reason I am posting this, the reason I am asking this question, is in the hopes that someone will praise me, and that'll feel good. Yeah. You need to get your approval from God. That's the only real approval, and He will give it when you humble yourself. Yeah. He must increase, but I must. He gave so much praise to John the Baptist. He said he's one of the greatest people ever born of woman. He didn't have to fish for that.
Right.
Let God handle it.
That's good.
And He will, and He will. It'll be real encouragement. It'll be real praise, not.
Yeah. All right. So what at the bottom line? What does He must increase, I must decrease? What does that mean? If you can have a 1-minute sermon on that verse alone, what are you saying to encourage people?
I mean, it's not about you, dude. Nothing in your life. Make it about God. Make your life, your family, your success, your business, your health, your knowledge, your schooling, your wisdom, your ministry, the power of God. Make it about God. Stop. It's not about you. Nothing's about you. And if that stings your ego, some things are, then we've already found the button. You want some level of glory. And I was thinking, Aaron was talking about this yesterday, I think. The part of the reason I think John the Baptist's disciples were upset that Jesus was getting the glory and John wasn't, is not simply because they wanted John to have it, but if their guy had it, some would spill onto them. Yeah. How gross. And I really believe that. That's why you want people that are close to you in your life to get the glory, and then you stand next to them, because really in reality you're the one that wants it. Yeah. So they're jealous of Jesus for themselves.
Yeah. Wow, that's weird you said it, because we all have that in us too, to go, if you're close to a celebrity, right? Not a celebrity, there it is, right?
There you go.
You want to point that out.
I know this guy. I know this lady. Who else are you putting out on social media pictures? Unless they're rich, famous, or successful. You just want people to know that you know them, so you get some of that. Me and you aren't out because we know each other well and we don't feel like we're gaining anything. But some people, they get next to people and they are maybe their friends at first, but then they're using them to steal glory any way they can get it. It's people do. It's hard not to be judgmental, and I try to turn it back on myself because I'm vulnerable to it. People are doing this every day. And I feel it in me. And so it's I don't want to judge, but I'm wow, this is what it looks. I want to make sure to take this as a warning to my own soul to not be doing this. That's ridiculous.
But asking those questions, I think, helps realize, why would I do this? Why would I say this? Why would I post that? It's going to help be a reminder to the reasons behind it. So, but like you said, don't lie to yourself. Don't lie. Be honest about it. All right. Where are we going next week? Do you know?
Yeah, the woman at the well, man.
Okay, woman at the well. That's a long chapter, isn't it?
Yeah.
You going through the whole deal?
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, I'm not going through the whole 54 verses, but in 1 week. But yeah, man, it's what a blast.
Awesome. Woman at the well next week. Happy New Year 2020 to everybody. Don't take our word for it, being His. We'll see you next time on the Encore.